Hi there, it's Jason here from the Accounting Student Network, and today I'm going to talk you through the double entry method of bookkeeping known as DEADCLIC. Very morbid sounding method, but it really works, and it's probably my most favourite method of double entry bookkeeping and remembering it. It's how I was taught double entry, it's how I always remember it. It's not the only method, there are lots of different methods of remembering double entry, but for me this is probably one of the most logical and probably one of the best. So I try to teach this method when I'm teaching double entry bookkeeping, and hopefully when I talk you through it today, when I talk you through this chart on the screen, it will make sense. So first of all, I'm going to explain what DEADCLIC actually stands for. So if we look down the left hand side of this chart here, the DEAD of DEADCLIC is for debit, expenses, assets and drawings, and the click is credit, liabilities, income and capital. So the 6 type of accounts that you'll use when you're performing double entry bookkeeping, that is expenses, assets, drawings, liabilities, income and capital, are all represented on this chart, and how you treat them depends on which half of the chart you look at. Now, I must just say before I launch into this that this chart only applies when you're increasing the value in an account. So you'll see I've highlighted that in green on both sections of the chart. So I'll try and explain that a bit better. So if you're increasing an expense, if you're increasing an asset, and if you're increasing the value of drawings, then it is a debit. Now, I guess 99% of the time you will be increasing the value in these 3 accounts, and similarly you'll be increasing the value in these 3 accounts. You know, it's very rare, for example, that you're going to have a credit on expenses, assets, drawings, and you're going to have a debit on liabilities, income and capital. That is quite rare, but I only throw this in not to confuse you at all, but just to reiterate, I guess, that DEADCLIC always applies when you're increasing the value of an account. So, as I said, increasing an expense, increasing the value of an asset, increasing the amount of drawings in the accounts, then it's always a debit. Increasing a liability, increasing income, and increasing the capital balance is always a credit. So, as I said, if you're decreasing any of these, then the opposite is true. So I hope that makes sense. As I say, it's not to confuse anyone. It's just to point out that if you are decreasing the value of any of these accounts, I wouldn't want you to get confused over it. So I've made some notes along the top here in this chart. So I've put DEADCLIC increases the value in your account, so that's what I just mentioned. And quite a morbid way of remembering it is raising the dead. Now, I only say that because raising is increasing, so it's just a good way of remembering how DEADCLIC works. Not the most ideal way, I get you, but quite a novel way, I guess, of remembering how it all works. So in my third note here, I've put to decrease the value in your accounts, use the opposite. So hopefully that does make sense. Now, in this column here, what I've done is just to help you, just to explain where each of these accounts goes in either your profit and loss or balance sheet. So expenses are always a profit and loss item, assets are always a balance sheet item, and drawings are a balance sheet item. And similarly, in the bottom half, liabilities are a balance sheet item, income is a profit and loss item, and capital is a balance sheet item. And in the next column here, I've just put a little note which sometimes people trip up on. It's just to let you know that assets are owned by the business and liabilities are owed by the business, and similarly capital is owed by the business. Now, people often say, well, why is capital owed? Because it's the proprietor's money. Well, this is true, it is. The proprietor has paid capital into the bank account, so therefore the business owes it back to him. So that's why it's effectively a liability in the balance sheet, although it comes under the capital heading, but it is a liability in that the business owes it back to the proprietor. So I hope that makes sense. So again, just to reiterate those 2 points, I've just put 2 more notes up here. Income and expenses are profit and loss account items, and assets, liabilities, capital and drawings are balance sheet items. So there's not much more I can say about DEADCLIC really, just to go over the fact once again, and make no apology for this because it is really important, that the DEAD of DEADCLIC stands for debit, expenses, assets and drawings, but this only applies to increasing the value of your accounts. But having said that, 99% of the time that's what you're going to be doing. And the credit side applies to liabilities, income and capital, again increasing the value of those accounts. But I think sort of splitting the chart in half like I've done here, I think probably does help to explain DEADCLIC a little bit better and make things a little bit easier. So that's DEADCLIC. Hope you find that useful, hope you found it beneficial. And if you do have any questions or queries or comments about that, then please do pop them underneath the video here, and we'll see you again soon.